Hey entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Art of Online Marketing live show. So today I'm joined by Brittany Pickrem, brand expert and designer, and she'll be sharing with us how your brand can show up powerfully through video. So my name is Denise Allison. I am the owner of Strategro, and I help you grow your business with social media and live video. So before we get started today, I have a special announcement to make, and that is I would love to invite you to join me for my new small group training, and this is the live video formula. So this is a 6-week small group program where I'll be showing you how to launch, grow, and monetize your live video presence. So this is for a very small group of entrepreneurs who want to use live video to increase their visibility, grow their audience, and attract more customers with live video. So if you are serious about stepping up your social media game in 2018, I definitely recommend that you join this program. And if you want to be considered for the program, book a chat with me and we'll see if it's the right fit for you. So I'll put the link right above here for my calendar, and you can feel free to send me a message if you're interested in learning more. All right, so let's get down to business. I'm joined by Brittany Pickrem, brand expert and designer. All right.
Hi there, and hi Denise, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I think this is awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. So for those who don't know you, give us a little introduction of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Brittany Pickrem, and I own a little boutique branding business here in Halifax, and I help businesses amplify their visual brand. So really, I help you increase your impact and awareness and recognition of your brand and help you develop your best brand.
Perfect. So today you're going to tell us a little bit about how to make sure your brand is showing up properly on video. So where do we start with that? How can we get started?
Yeah, so really, video is and we're coming to you today via live video, and also just native videos. So pre-recorded video is a format that is going to continue to grow, and it's not going anywhere, and it's certainly not going out of style. So by this time next year, it's estimated that 80% of the content that will be consumed on web will actually be video based. So it's incredibly important for small businesses in particular to be showing up on video. And I can attest personally that I have really started to grow my business using video, because you can really reach so many more people and you have such a bigger impact. And because I specialize in visual branding, I've also noticed the importance of really showing up consistently with your brand on video as well. I think the biggest thing is to really just get started at first. I certainly didn't show up completely polished at first. I think it's better to just get out there and start creating video content and getting comfortable with it. But these tips that I'm going to talk about today are after you've gotten a bit comfortable, you know that video is a great format for you and your business, and really for a ton of businesses it is. So these are just some tips to take your videos to the next level.
Perfect. And I absolutely agree. My business grew exponentially when I started to use live video to share my content and connect with my audience. So what's your first tip, Brittany?
So my very first tip, and it sounds very basic, but it's really just to plan. So first you have to plan what kind of content that you want to be creating for your videos. And really a little bit of intention around this area can go a really long way. It can take your videos from being good to being great. So knowing who you're talking to, that's a really important one. And knowing what content you want to talk about. So what are you the expert in your area? So that's the very, very first tip. It sounds very basic, but that's the first way to go. And Denise, I'm sure you would agree with me, like planning and a little bit of intention is definitely a great way to start.
Yeah, I mean, if you plan, a few things happen is you're showing up and you're making the best use of your audience's time. So you're not just showing up and blabbing on about anything. You're being intentional and you're sharing something valuable in the amount of time you have. It also helps you be less terrified of going live because you know what you're going to say and you already have a plan of action for what you're going to say.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to highlight what you said about adding value, because I really think that is so important to really add value for your viewers. And actually, I had created something called, and I still do it every Tuesday, called Brand Tip Tuesday. And that is just a little snippet of information that I give every Tuesday to my audience about powerful ways that they can show up with their visual brand. So that is definitely a key way that, it's an easy value add right away. And I know that you do that all the time with this online show as well. So adding value with your content is also key for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. What's your next tip?
So my next tip is setting the stage. So paying attention to your background. So is your background showing up in a way that supports the content that you're talking about and the message that you're talking about? So I like to suggest for beginners, the very best way to show up is to use real life spaces. So use your office space, use your living room, but just make sure that you're paying attention to the background and how it's showing up, and is it supporting the message that you're giving. And again, I preach this all the time to my clients, but consistency between your visual brand and also your video message is absolutely essential. So a way to do that is actually incorporating certain colors into the frame whenever you can. So if you can sneak some of your brand color into the frame, that's a really fantastic thing to do. And also, just like a theatrical stage, what are some props that you can add as well that really support your message into the background? So it's like, I know, Denise, actually, you do something that's really fantastic. You have this little @ symbol in your background. I don't know if you have it there today.
I do. It's right here. Wait.
Yeah, and you have it. So, and you have it. It's really clever because not only do you have that little @ symbol, it becomes sort of ties into what you do, and you also have it in a similar color to your brand palette.
Yeah.
So that is a huge way to add consistency into your video, is, adding those little touches in like that in the background. So if you can add sort of any type of like non-verbal message in your background and really set your stage, that is just a huge one that you get. And it's easy to do and also very affordable to do as well. And it just supports the content that you're talking about already.
Perfect. So you say it's better to have a like office setting or a living room setting than a blank wall?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit more personality, a little bit more character. Something I would mention for our viewers who are maybe a little bit more advanced would be to invest in something called a seamless backdrop. Mm-hmm. So a seamless backdrop gives you the illusion of almost like a solid wall or a solid color. Again, it's a really great way to incorporate your brand's color as well. If you get a seamless backdrop that's in that color, okay. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to set up on your own. There is some assembly required for sure. But if you're at that stage and you want to invest a little bit further, that's something that you can explore as well, as long as it's on point for your brand.
Okay. I was on a video call with my, my rep from Zoom, and she had this background and it looked like she was in this beautiful log chalet, and I was like, is that your real background? She said, no, it's actually a green screen. So that was pretty cool. So I suppose that's an option as well.
Actually, that's something I didn't think to mention. A digital green screen is absolutely something else that you can do to control your image as well. So there is a bit more of an investment at a certain price point and assembly with that. But if you really want to control the consistency of your background each and every time, that is absolutely a way that you can go. But, really, I'd reiterate to the beginners, honestly, just, stage your real life workspace. Just show up intentionally around that. Make sure it looks professional. You don't want a bunch of clutter or distraction around that. I don't know about the viewers that are watching today, but every time I watch a video like these, I always look at the background. Like, I want to see, it's like, oh, like, what's going on back there? Like, what do they have there? So I think as humans, we're naturally curious anyway, and we look for those details. So just being mindful and showing up intentionally around that will be very beneficial for your visual brand for sure.
Cool. So what else can we do to make sure we make our brand show up powerfully through video?
Yeah, really, also good lighting. That's another really big one. So having a nice exposed frame, it will actually give you more views. So if you had this underexposed, shady kind of image, your viewers just aren't going to be able to see you as well, and you should be have a great exposure. So really controlling that exposure as much as you can. So if you're shooting indoors and you're shooting in your indoor space, there's a couple things that you can do to add some more light just naturally at a very minimal, very low cost investment. Really sitting near a window. If there's a natural light source that is around and that can project that into your room, natural light is great. A lot of times with professional photography setups with soft boxes, it's really emulating natural light. So anytime that you can incorporate natural light into your frame, that is such a big bonus for sure. And then you can also add extra light sources as well. So if you have lamps or, just anything to put more light into the room. Now, the rules are a little bit different if you decide to shoot your video outside. And depending on your brand, you might really want to shoot outside. So for the viewers that may be shooting their videos outside, I do have a couple tips to really control the exposure and the frame. If you shoot on a cloudy day, so here in Halifax, it's actually a very overcast day. If you were shooting outside, today would be perfect shooting conditions for that because none of your imagery is going to get blown out. Also, an hour before sunrise or an hour before sunset gives this beautiful quality of light if you happen to be shooting outdoors. So I don't know if there's anybody that's listening today that will be doing their Facebook Lives outside, but if you are, those are a couple tips as well for that. And finally, I will say, and maybe Denise, you could put this in the link, there is a couple starter kits that I would recommend as well, that you can use for your mobile phone for lighting and also image stabilization. You don't want to make anybody feel as if they're seasick when they're watching you. So really stabilizing your image is important because you want to entice people to tune in and listen to you for as long as possible. So really controlling the exposure and also the stillness of your frame is really key, and it's safeguarding the integrity of your visuals for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, send me that link and I'll put it in the comments below. Okay, what else can we do to make sure that we're showing up right?
Yeah. So like I say, color is massive, and really keep that consistent. I just want to impress upon that again. So another thing that I would like to talk about, and I see a lot of people who first start with video overlook this because they don't necessarily they haven't taken a course in photography or video, but really it's composition. Okay. So there's this thing that's called the rule of 2/3. So if you actually pretend, if you put a grid over your image, a 3x3 grid, it creates intersections where you can position yourself where you'll show up really, it's very pleasing to the eye to show up at these places in the frame. Okay. So really important to where you want to position yourself in frame as well. You also want to make sure that you don't cut your head off. And I see that happen a lot. Make sure that you have just enough space above your head and not too much space though, because you don't want to be floating in the frame as well. So you want to be filling the frame, but you don't want to be doing it so much where your face is like really, really just in the frame dramatically. It just goes back to safeguarding those aesthetics and showing up really beautifully. So just keep an eye for the composition that you're putting out there. So like do a test shot before you actually broadcast to figure out, how you're looking in frame.
So if you were pretending that you had a 3x3 grid, which are you supposed to show up in a particular grid, like a particular square? Like where are you supposed to be on that?
So it does come a little bit down to personal preference. Now, I think I mentioned it before, like the rule of 1/3. So 2/3 of your frame ideally could be empty blank space. And the really great reason to shoot this way is if you have text or animations that you want to bring into your frame for a pre-recorded video, you allow the space for that to show up that way.
Okay.
And really it's actually better if you're off to the side, because you're creating that space in that frame, and you're just creating a little bit more visual impact. I'm sure if there's anybody that's watching that has some training in photography, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But really, if you position yourself instead of dead center, more in the first third of the frame, it's just going to be a little more visually interesting. And then later for editing, it allows for a bit more flexibility for things like text animations and all that. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, I know a lot of your listeners are going live and they won't be incorporating animations. But if you are recording pre-recorded video, it's a great thing to keep in mind for later on for editing.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. What else should we know?
Okay. All right. So this is one that I'm very passionate about, is wardrobe. So you should really show up intentionally with your wardrobe, and making sure that you're continuing the integrity of your visual brand and weaving that visual brand as well through your wardrobe. So give some thought to what you're wearing before you come on screen, much like how you're planning the content. Plan your wardrobe as well. So and have fun with it. I think clothing is definitely the funnest way for self-expression. And again, it's another way to sneak in some of your brand colors as well, if you can. Be mindful of patterns and how certain patterns show up on screen. So Denise, I'm sure as you know, patterns are not necessarily read the same way by a camera as they are by a human eye. Mm-hmm. So sometimes patterns can be really distorted depending on what kind of pattern it is. So you want to be careful with the patterns. So again, like what I was saying before, planning those test shots and seeing how that pattern looks, because you don't want this pattern to be really distracting and take away from your message if it's looking really kind of wacky. So you may want to avoid patterns. Something else that can be a little tricky to shoot with is if you're dressed in a lot of white. Whites can have a tendency to totally blow out, and you might like blind your viewer. Mm-hmm. I'm kidding. You wouldn't exactly blind anybody, but it's just not the most visually pleasing way to go about it. What I would suggest, the safest way to go is really to wear as many solids as you possibly can.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then if that solid just happens to be your brand color, fantastic.
So what would you suggest for someone like me who goes live all the time? Is it better to have very similar wardrobe every time, or is it okay to like mix it up?
I think it's fun to mix it up. I think that you can absolutely have fun with it. And again, you're a shining example of this visual brand, Denise, because a lot of times I do notice that you wear those teal tones, which I don't know if it's intentional, but they are part of your brand palette.
It is.
So you do yeah. So you're already kind of you're definitely showing up that way already by incorporating those colors in and really controlling those colors and just sneaking your brand in there in another way visually. So but yeah, I would say absolutely mix it up, have fun with it, do the test shots to see how a wardrobe films, because what your eye sees and what the camera sees, like I said before, are two different things, unfortunately. And sometimes colors are even quite distorted through lenses, and everybody's monitors and screens and phones are all going to show color a little bit differently anyhow. But really just, be mindful of patterns, be careful of those, and really, stick to the solids. The solids are going to be a really good way to go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing all this with our audience. If our viewers want to learn more, where can they go?
They could check out BrittanyPickrem.com, or you could also go to my Facebook page, like my Facebook page. Like I say, every Tuesday I have a new fresh and fabulous brand tip. Yeah, check me out, follow me on there. I'd love to have you along.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right, everyone. So just a reminder that I just opened the doors on my brand new program, the Live Video Formula. So if you want to learn how to grow your business with live video, I'd love to have you join me. So we're starting on March 14th. And if you want to be considered for the program, send me a message, or I'll put the link here for my calendar, and we'll book a time to chat about it and see if it's the right fit for you. So looking forward to chatting. And a reminder, I go live every Tuesday, but I won't be doing an official live show next week because I'll be on my way to Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. So hopefully I can give you a bit of a behind the scenes look at what's going on and capture a few celebrities. So I'm looking forward to it. So no live show next week, but I will be back after that. Thanks, everyone.